Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me today for Your Ancestors Are Calling. Shift your perspective on anxiety and grief to heal generational wounds. My hope with our summit today, the whole summit, is that we can shift some of our perspective on anxiety and depression in order to see them more as gifts instead of burdens, and be able to transform that energy into a more positive gift for the earth and for our brothers and sisters, and realize that when we start to heal for ourselves, we can heal for generations past as well as generations to come, that we can end some of the unhealthy patterns with us if we choose to. So today with me, I have Jocelyn Mercado, which I'm very excited about. And she is a spiritual guide for the modern world, a transformational life and business coach, holistic health consultant, writer, and environmentalist. She has been a student and practitioner of indigenous wisdom and earth-based spirituality for more than 9 years. Previous to that, she worked in finance and business for over 15 years, and she has a uniquely balanced right brain and left brain approach because of this background. Jocelyn created Sacred Planet to support people in a process of unlearning the rules and regulations of modern mainstream society, which no longer serve us or our highest good, so that we can reconnect with nature, joy, and the truths that we hold deep within our hearts. Jocelyn believes that at the same time as we are witnessing the systems and structures of the old modern world crumbling around us, we're collectively realizing that there's an amazing opportunity at this momentous time in history to rise up together and create something entirely new that the world has never seen before. She says that each person holds a unique key to something that the world deeply needs. When we open up to those gifts and talents, to those ways we are meant to change the world that no one else can do in exactly the same way, we have an amazing potential to bring about a bright and vibrant future for humanity and for all of life on our sacred planet. Jocelyn, thank you so much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dottie, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be a part of your event.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you as part of our event. I know that we're going to learn a lot from you today. I'm really looking forward to it. Might you be able to share your story around anxiety and depression?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So I have had different variations on anxiety and depression for as long as I can remember, since my earliest childhood memories. I had separation anxiety from the time I was a very young child, and I remember just being very panicky if I was not with my mom. And it was really a big thing. It really shaped my childhood to a great extent. And so I took antidepressants starting around age 15. That was what the doctors, recommended for my parents to do to help me out, because I was really struggling. I was struggling in school. I was struggling socially, and just had this constant anxiety that never left. I was very fearful. And so the antidepressants helped, and I was able to do a little bit more. But I also began having trouble traveling when I got my driver's license and I was 16 years old. I was like, no, I'll be free, and so when I got to the point where you don't have to have the person driving with you anymore, I went and started to drive to the mall one day. And to get to the mall, you had to go on I-95 where I live for a little while. And I had just a horrible panic attack as soon as I got on the interstate. And I wasn't expecting that. I had no idea that was going to happen. And so I, had this fear of traveling as well. So it's like these pervasive fears, anxiety would come in. And so all of that definitely led to depression, definitely led to me feeling trapped, feeling like, what am I ever going to be able to do if these panic attacks keep happening? What if they get worse? So this was a really big thing for me. And I took different antidepressants throughout my 20s and beginning of my 30s to deal with that. And it's interesting because my soul longs to travel. I love seeing different cultures and different parts of the world. And I would purposely take jobs that would require me to travel, even though I knew I would have the panic attack. So I think it's interesting how we each like deal with this. I think I was trying to push against it, trying to make it go away. But it was something that I could never get rid of. And yeah, I have more to share with that on like the most recent updates, but up until that I'm 41 now, and up until well into my 40th year, still had that, you know, very extreme fear of traveling that affected me pretty seriously. So this is something I've dealt with for a long time, and it's quite fascinating and also quite challenging in many ways.
Absolutely. Have you developed skills and tools that you've used throughout? Have you noticed a difference, you know, maybe from your 20s to 30s, the things that helped then that helped differently as you grew older?
Yeah, definitely. So, um, there was a really big healing that occurred for me in my early 30s. And at that point, the fear of travel did not go away, but the general anxiety and depression did. And I'll share why and what happened at that time. So I was throughout all my 20s and and in my early 30s, I was working in finance, in corporate, as you said in my introduction. And I was just, you know, I was doing what we're all told we're supposed to do. I had the job and I was moving up the ladder in the corporate world and all that. And when my daughter was born, when I was 32, everything changed for me. And I was holding this little baby in my arms and looking at her and thinking, you know, what kind of world am I creating for her? What kind of a life am I creating for us in this work that I'm doing? Like, what is the meaning of it? And I didn't know. I couldn't see the meaning, you know, in what I was doing every day. And so I really went into a very deep postpartum depression at that point. And I didn't know what to do. And I was off of the antidepressants because when I was pregnant, you know, I had to get off of them for her sake. And I was determined not to go back on, but I had no idea how I was going to function if I did that. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on about all different world religions, because the questions that were coming up for me were, you know, these big questions that we all ask ourselves of, why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing? And what is the meaning of all this? And I thought, well, I don't know where to look to find the answers for this, but I'm going to study the world's religions and see what these different, you know, teachers that have, you know, this wisdom from thousands and thousands of years ago, you know, might have to say about it. And so it's very interesting because what really stood out to me as I did more and more research into all of these different spiritual traditions, what stood out to me was ancient and indigenous wisdom and an earth-based perspective. It just felt so true in my heart every time that I would read a book on indigenous wisdom, ancient wisdom, shamanic wisdom. And so I began to seek out opportunities to learn more about these things. And one thing that I found, and this was a huge part of my healing process, was a practice called shamanic healing. It's also called active imagination. And it's where you go into a deep meditative state, often listening to a drum beat, you know, which assists your brain into going into a theta brainwave state, which is that meditative state. And you journey and you can kind of travel in your imagination. And everybody experiences this in a very different way. But what I found when I started doing this was I found my ancestors. There were ancestors that wanted to connect with me and help me. And I found different guides like angels and power animals that wanted to help me and assist me in this journey and wanted to help me find the answers to the questions of why am I here and what are we supposed to be doing and what is the meaning of all this. So I've had some really powerful experiences with shamanic journeying. But what I learned through all of this was, you know, when I was at my most anxious or in the deepest depression, I felt so alone, you know, and I think we've all had that experience of just feeling so alone. And I can remember even as a teenager thinking, I'm living this life, but when it comes time to die, I'm going to be all alone, and I'm so scared, and I don't know what's going to happen then. And that is the loneliest possible feeling you could have, you know? Um, and so what I learned through this practice of shamanic journeying and connecting with my ancestors and my guides is that we are never alone, you know, that we are surrounded by love and support and protection and guidance in all that we do, in every single thing that we do. And so for me here now, I know my guides and my ancestors are around me. And for you there, Dottie, I know your guides are all around you as well. And this shifted something really big for me, really big, very, very deep in my core, to know that I am not alone, that I am never alone, you know, and when I'm going through the biggest trials, there is guidance and I am protected. And even at the moment of my death, I will be guided and protected, right? And so that changed everything. And I have chills even now, you know, just saying those words. After I really deeply realized that I'm not alone, the anxiety, the general anxiety and the general depression completely went away. And I kind of came out of that postpartum depression that I had been in since I'd had my daughter. It lasted about a year and a half to 2 years. And I felt alive like I had never felt before. And so, yeah, it's been really powerful, really, really powerful. And the anxiety and depression, you know, I have low moments and I have times when I'm questioning things, but it is not returned, and it's not going to return at the level that it was before, because the way that I view the world and my place in it has changed fundamentally.
That's very powerful. Is there a specific book that you think helped more than another one?
Yeah, definitely. So there's one book that I so strongly recommend. It's called The Co-Creator's Handbook, and it's by Alida Birch. Her first name is Alida, last name is Birch, like a birch tree. And this is a book that it's like an 8-week journey. There are 8 chapters, and every chapter is, you know, you're supposed to take a week with. And it's a combination of an introduction to shamanic journeying plus a guide to help you find your life's purpose. So it's like, you can't, you know, it's everything you need all wrapped up in one. And the way that she introduces shamanic journeying is extremely beautiful, very easy, very easy to kind of get your foot in the door and also have some really powerful experiences.
I love that book. I have gotten it on your recommendation, and it is very powerful, and it is very user friendly for
Yes.
for us that are very unfamiliar with that type of work. So how can we work with our ancestors and guides?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so the most important thing is first just to sink into the awareness that they are around us at all times, that they want to help us, that they want to protect us. And this can be difficult, you know. It took me a while to get used to that and to really believe it. There were certain things that happened, which I could share if it might be helpful, that kind of said to me, like, okay, don't doubt anymore. We're going to show you that this is real. Don't doubt it anymore. So there's a level of trust that's required, you know, and there's one of my teachers, his name is Arkan Lashwala. He has an amazing book called The Time of the Black Jaguar, which I also highly, highly recommend to everybody. But he says in that book that we can choose to live with certainty instead of doubt. We can make this powerful choice in our lives to state what we are certain of and to live according to that. So I welcome everybody here, you know, and even you could close your eyes now if you want and just place your hands on your heart and really feel within yourself the power of choosing certainty. And think of something positive that you know for certain in your life. And it may be, you know, something as simple as, you know, my mom will always be there for me, or my spouse will always be there for me. It may be something bigger, like I know my purpose is ABC, even if you may or may not be fulfilling that purpose yet, you may know what it is and feel quite certain about that. And it may be that, you know, I know the sun will rise every morning, right? But think of something you're certain about and just really anchor into that and really breathe into that and have gratitude for your certainty around this beautiful aspect of life. And then, still keeping your eyes closed, bring to mind any ancestor or angel or guide who you feel might be nearby and might be wanting to come in and help you at this moment. And here's the important part. Don't doubt that they are there. Really welcome them in with certainty and trust. And so this may be an ancestor like grandmother or your great, 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 great grandfather. This may be an animal, a pet that you had in the past, or a power animal that always shows up for you. Might be an angel that you've always called on. Just welcome this guide to come and sit next to you, or maybe stand and place their hands on your shoulders. And just know with certainty that this guide is here for you, that they are protecting you right at this moment and always, and that they are here to help you. And then from this space, you can ask them any question that you want. So whatever you might be struggling with, whatever might be really challenging for you, maybe a problem that you just can't find the answer to, go ahead and ask your guide right now. And then just listen with certainty for their answer. And allow space for that answer to come in. And if you may be hearing an answer right away, which is always wonderful when that happens, or you may not hear or see anything right now. And if that's the case, that's completely fine. But what I welcome you to do if you're not getting the answer right away is to really pay attention over the next couple of days for any signs or synchronicities that come through. Because remember, again, with certainty, we know that this guide is there and they want to help you. And they are going to provide that answer, but sometimes it comes through differently than we expect. So take a deep breath in now. Breathe all the way in, fill your lungs, keeping your eyes closed for another few seconds. And then breathe out, release that breath. And when you're ready, you can come back here and open your eyes.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, as I said, even if you didn't get anything, direct or clear there, just trust, have certainty, the answer is coming, and look out for it in your day-to-day life.
Thank you. That was beautiful. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's a really good space to be in.
Yes, definitely is.
Would you share some of your experiences to know or that provided that certainty for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll share about what's happened with my travel fear as well, because that's one of those. So the moment, the pivotal moment for me in realizing that this is not a figment of my imagination, this is not something I'm making up in my head, that this is really, really real, happened when I had been doing the exercises in the co-creation handbook for about 6 months, and I had kind of emerged into this deeper level of shamanic journeying through doing that. And I would do a journeying practice almost every day. And I would, every single time that I journeyed, I would see this big snow-capped mountain. And in front of the mountain were some scraggly trees. And then there was like a body of water there, and there were pine trees behind me. I would, every single time I would arrive at this place and just stand there, and then nothing would happen. And I didn't know what was going on. And every single journey, I would end up at this place. Sometimes there was a horse there with me, and sometimes not. And so I started asking, what is this place? What are you trying to tell me? I don't, it's beautiful, but I don't know what I'm doing here. And so I heard a message come through that said, you have to go to New Mexico. And I was like, okay, New Mexico, interesting. So I was doing some work with the Pachamama Alliance at that time, and I didn't know there were journeys to New Mexico through the Pachamama Alliance, but a couple weeks after that message came through, this email showed up in my inbox that was, go on this journey to New Mexico and work with Pat McCabe. And so I signed up for it because I thought, okay, well, that's very interesting. And I just heard this message. So I signed up for that journey. And I was expecting the landscape in New Mexico to be like desert and cactuses and, this kind of thing. So as we were driving, we flew into the Albuquerque airport. We were driving up to Taos, New Mexico. And as you round this one bend going into Taos, it's like the whole panorama opens up, and there's this huge snow-capped mountain. If you're there at certain times of the year, it's still snow-capped. So we came around this bend, and there it was. It was the mountain I had been seeing, and I just was completely, blown away, right? And so then every day we were in the presence of this beautiful snow-capped mountain, and I knew that mountain had come to me in my journeys and spoken to me. And I'd never had anything happen like this before, where I saw it, and then it turned out to be this actual concrete physical experience. And even later on in that trip to Taos, we took a drive up over the mountain to the other side of the mountain. We were standing there, and I was looking up at the mountain, and it was the exact same scene that I had experienced many times, with the mountain, snow-capped, and then the scraggly bushes and this body of water here and pine trees behind me. And I couldn't believe it. I still can hardly even believe it, but it was such a beautiful confirmation. And so I just want to offer that these things are real, right? It can happen for any of us, but we've got to be paying attention. We've got to be talking to our guides and our ancestors. We've got to be in communication with them to receive the messages. And then we need to respond, because I could have been like, whatever, and not signed up for the journey to New Mexico, and I would have never known, right? We've got to respond. So that was one, pivotal experience, and there have been others like that, but that's the one that really stands out. So I hope that will be helpful to people, to know that has happened. Now, the other piece that I want to share is this healing journey around the travel. So this is very recent. And so just in April of this year, 2019, there was a trip that I needed to go on for work. And I was so filled with panic about getting on the plane, just because of my fear, that I couldn't even pack my suitcase. I couldn't even bring myself to pack my suitcase. I was so filled with panic. And so I called my colleague who I was supposed to be working with on this trip, and I told her, there's just no way that I can go. I just can't do it. And I was crying, and she said, I think we really need to set the intention for you to find someone who can help you heal from this fear. And so we did that, and I was sitting outside and on the ground, and we were talking, and we set this intention to find someone to help me heal from this fear. So the very next day, I didn't go on the trip. The trip happened without, the whole thing happened without me going. The very next day, I got connected to someone it was completely unexpected. It's an astrologer and a shamanic practitioner. And so through this connection with this person, I found out that they do somatic healing work, like breath work and past life regression. And so I said, okay, I think, I have to pursue this. I have to find out if this is like the answer that I was seeking. And so at the end of June, I went and traveled and met this person and did that healing work. And my travel fear is being healed. And it's something that I never, ever thought would actually happen. It's really quite miraculous. So I am now flying and driving and doing things, driving in places I've never driven before with no fear. And it's really incredible. And I still can hardly believe that it's actually happening, but it really is. So again, I offer this as inspiration to everybody listening. If there are things that you never thought would be possible, if there are things you never thought you could do, you've got to follow the clues, right? Follow the golden threads and respond and have this trust and certainty that it can be done and that it's never too late to make this kind of a shift. This travel fear, it's been with me ever since I started having the opportunity to travel, or even just to drive when I was 16 years old. And it's really actually being healed now. So it can happen.
That's really wonderful and powerful as well. Do you have any suggestions for knowing, or maybe not necessarily knowing, but maybe giving yourself permission for following those feelings and not doubting them and saying it's just, I shouldn't, it's crazy.
Yeah, definitely. And, it's really hard. It's really hard to know, because sometimes we can try something. I tried all kinds of things over the years to try to heal that fear that didn't work. So part of it is having persistence and trust, even when things haven't worked. I think that, it's so important to be connected with our intuition. And I know that can be challenging when we have anxiety. That was always, a big challenge for me, is that I would have a sense that I shouldn't go on a trip, or I would have this overwhelming sense of doom, or like something bad's going to happen. And to me, it felt like that was my intuition, but really it was the fear. So how do we sort those things out? It's very challenging. It's very, very challenging. So one thing that I would really strongly recommend to everybody to help you get clarity and to help you get connected with your intuition, if you don't feel like you can hear it clearly, is to, whenever you can, engage in some sort of healing work. So whether this is receiving Reiki healing, and I know that's something that you do, Dottie, or whether that is receiving acupuncture, or also something that you do, Dottie, is Akashic record readings, right? Some sort of deep healing work where, you're going to receive positive energy, you're going to be receiving healing, you're going to be receiving information from your ancestors and your guides. And if you are having trouble connecting with your guides or having trouble connecting with your intuition, it can be so, so helpful to work with a practitioner who can give you this kind of healing and help you to receive the information where you don't feel like you have to bring it through yourself, right? But you can recognize it as truth. So I do really strongly recommend, if you possibly can financially, to engage with a practitioner who can offer you that kind of healing. It's going to help you to get clear. It's going to help you to feel the voice of your intuition more strongly and receive that confirmation from the other person, about what your heart is trying to tell you. And I think also we need to pay attention to, when opportunities come up, or when we feel like we might be getting an insight or a message, but we're not sure. It's important to tune into how it feels in our bodies, right? So if you get an opportunity for a new job or a job promotion, for example, and you just, it can be helpful to close your eyes, put your hands on your heart as we did earlier, and like kind of drop into a meditative space, really connect in with your heart, connect in with your body, And, how does that job opportunity feel? Does it feel light, and does it feel expansive? Does it feel like freedom? Or does it feel heavy and pressured and stressful, right? That can be a really good way to know whether to say yes or no to an opportunity, or a new situation that is posing itself to you. So those are a few things that I would suggest, but really, having a daily meditative practice, whether it's shamanic journeying, like I talked about, or meditation, or just closing your eyes and listening to beautiful music for 20 minutes and seeing what moves in you. It's really important to connect in every day with your heart, with your truth, with your inner knowing, and strengthen that feeling of being able to listen and understand your intuition, because your intuition is the ultimate guide to, knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to.
Definitely is. I think a lot of us probably listening have had that experience where when you didn't listen to your gut and you knew you should have, or your intuition, and then it shows you pretty quickly like, I made the wrong choice there, and next time it'll be different. Definitely. Which is a beautiful thing. And also thank you for speaking to seeking somebody to help if you feel like you need it, because I think sometimes we just need that permission to have somebody hold the mirror up for us, right? Sometimes it's hard to see what's happening inside within ourselves, and having another person help you sort through it is helpful.
Definitely. Yeah. And I think we can, it's so easy to say no to, something like getting Reiki healing or getting an acupuncture treatment. It's so easy to say, oh, I should spend that money on something else, or, oh, I can't take the time away from the kids or the family or whatever it might be. But that kind of self-care is so, so important. It's much more valuable than any money, and it will allow you to be more present for your family and be more present for your work. So I really encourage people to go out and seek those healing sessions, and to have them regularly, like once a month or twice a month if you possibly can. It will make a huge difference in how you feel, how you think, how you can make decisions, all of that.
Yeah, I can speak to that personally. I used to have acupuncture once a month, and I haven't had it since March, and things are starting to show themselves as a result of not investing in that time. And so true. Yeah, it is. That's very good advice. Thank you. Can you share with us why you think empathics and intuitive people suffer a lot from depression and anxiety, or seem to have those?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that being empathic and being highly intuitive, it's such a beautiful gift. And it comes with this ability to feel things really deeply. So we feel not only our own emotions and feelings, but other people's. And even we feel the emotions of animals, or even plants, or the earth. We're kind of very, very deeply connected in with this whole web of life, and we really feel what's going on in the world. And so that is a tremendous gift, and it is also quite a challenge, because when we're feeling so much, it can be really overwhelming, and it can definitely make us feel anxious or make us feel depressed. This is something I've certainly struggled with, in feeling so connected with the earth, and feeling the pain and suffering that the earth is feeling in so many ways right now. It can be very easy to get dragged down into that. Very, very easy. So I want to really highlight the fact that these intuitive and empathic abilities that we're given, they're meant to be gifts. They're not meant to be a lead weight. They're given to us, meant to be gifts. And so, again, this is about choosing with certainty, right? But I invite everyone who's listening who really identifies strongly with this, with being an empathic or an intuitive, to really sense into the power of how deeply you can feel, and to consciously try to turn those deep, deep feelings toward joy. And what I mean by this is when we feel things deeply, we feel the whole spectrum, like from deepest pain to, brightest joy and celebration. We feel it all so much. And so when we can really focus that in on, for example, if we step outside, really going deeply into how does it feel to acknowledge the beauty of the leaves on the trees, or the birds that we see flying by, or the clouds, or the color of the sky. How does it feel to just immerse really, really deeply into the joy of that, like the life that's all around us? Or if there's someone that you love, like a partner or a child or an animal that's your pet, that you just love so much, like give yourself some extra time to just hug and hold and really, really feel the depth of emotions and the depth of joy and gratitude that you have for this individual in your life. Because it's very easy for us as humans to start to feel so strongly the anxiety and the worry and the concern and the doubt. But we can choose, and it takes time and it takes a lot of choosing, again and again and again to get there. But we can choose to use our deep, deep feeling sense to move us into joy, right? Very consciously with what we focus on. So that's been something that has also been a practice really, really helpful for me. Because I know for me, that was a lot of my anxiety and depression, was feeling things so strongly and that they were very negative emotions, and getting really stuck in that, really, really trapped in that. But we can gradually choose, and it helps if we're doing the healing work. It helps if we're doing the meditative work. It may be helpful to be on an antidepressant medication. Like it was very, very helpful to me for many, many years to have that. So, do the things that you need to do for self-care to take care of yourself. And from that place, really consciously focus on the joy and the magic and immersing in life in every single way that you can, because you're going to feel that more deeply as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. What would you say is the importance in dreams with healing anxiety and depression?
Yeah, our dreams carry very, very important messages for us. So, it can be really helpful to do your own dream work. And if you feel called to it, possibly work with someone who's a dream expert as well. But to really start writing down your dreams and look for the messages that are there. There's one dream that I have had. I haven't had this recently, but for a long time there, I was having this dream where I was driving, and if I would turn the car right, it would go left. And if I would try to stop, it would go faster, right? So it's like an out of control dream, right? It's very clear, like something is out of control. So we can work with dreams to give us clues to what needs to be healed. And so one way that you can do this that's really powerful is a journaling exercise. And this doesn't have to take a long time. But it's really good to keep a notebook and a pen by the side of your bed so that you can just do this either if you find yourself waking up after the dream at night, you could do this then, or first thing when you wake up in the morning. But what you want to do is whenever you have a dream that feels important, feels like a big dream for you, to get your journal and choose 4 main characters or objects that were in the dream. So you might choose, in a dream that you had, you might say, okay, my dad was in this dream. There was an apple in the dream. There was a dog, and there was me, right? These 4 things were in the dream. So then write my dad at the top of one page, the apple at the top of another page, the dog at the top of another page, and myself at the top of the 4th page. And fill that page up with writing the dream from the point of view of that individual or that object or that, that thing. And this will give you 4 different perspectives on what your dream could be about. And it's very, very interesting to do this, because when you write the dream from the point of view of the apple, for example, you get a whole different story from what happened in the dream from the point of view of your dad. And so this is one kind of dream analysis I recommend, just because you can do it very easily by yourself, but it will take you to far deeper levels of understanding what could be going on there. And when we're looking at this in the light of wanting to receive guidance about how we can feel happier and feel better every day, so once you've done that writing, then read through it and look at, okay, what messages might be here for me? Am I receiving any instructions? Am I receiving information about something that's going on in my subconscious mind that I wasn't aware of? Look for what might be revealed there, and it can be very, very helpful. Also, if you don't dream, or you don't remember your dreams, I recommend, you may want to check with your doctor first, but I recommend trying a B12 supplement, vitamin B12, because especially if we're vegetarian or vegan or don't eat a lot of meat, many of us are lacking in the vitamin B12, and that is a key vitamin for your brain to have to help with dream recall. So, and it's a very safe vitamin to take. So it's, usually very helpful to our whole body and our brain anyway, even regardless of the dream. So I highly recommend trying that, vitamin B12, if you are not currently remembering your dreams, and I hope that might help as well with the dream recall.
Awesome. I love that. I love that, writing from the aspect of 4 different objects in the dream. Would give you quite a different perspective and take on it, which
Definitely.
I would maybe open up some realm of your heart that you might not have realized needed opening, or mind, or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
It is powerful. I've definitely had a lot of anxiety in my life, and I know that I will have anxiety dreams that I can't find where I'm going, even though it's like it's work. It's somewhere I've been God knows how many times. I can't find it. I can't get there. And it could be something that I'm anxious, very small, very, in my mind, a little anxiety. And I'll have a dream like that. But now I know that. But when I was younger, I was like, what was that dream about? I don't understand at all. And I didn't connect my anxiety to that dream. So it's fun to watch those, or interesting, I guess, maybe not necessarily fun, but interesting to watch those connections that we can create and see, oh, I'm feeling anxious about A, B, and C.
Yeah, definitely. And as you work with more and more of your dreams, you'll start to see how one dream might mirror something from another dream, and then together you can figure out what it's trying to tell you. So it's very helpful to do this continually, work with your dreams anytime you do remember them.
Mm-hmm.
You'll learn a lot, and they really take on a life of their own. It's very fascinating.
You do. Well, thank you, Jocelyn. I love how you weaved in kind of our unseen worlds, and how that can help us with our anxiety and depression if we experience those things. It's really powerful and very helpful, and it makes it not so scary, and maybe, dare I say, magical.
It is magical. Yeah, it really is magical. We're surrounded by so much magic, so much that we can't see, that is here to help us.
Mm-hmm.
And our ancestors are a big part of it.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we close it up?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty much everything. I would just say, really trust and know with certainty your ancestors are there with you, your guides and protectors are there with you, and you are never, never, never alone.
Awesome. How can people find you if they want to learn more about you or work with you?
Yeah, definitely. People can go to my website. So my business is called Sacred Planet. So you can just Google my name and Sacred Planet, or you can go to my web URL, which is wearesacredplanet.com. So it's WEARE, sacredplanet.com. And you can check out my work there and sign up for my newsletter if you would like to be a part of our global community. And yeah, I welcome everybody to come and join and see what's happening there. We have a monthly global dream group, which is really exciting. So if you sign up for my newsletter, you'll get notifications about that. Yeah.
It's really lovely. I'm a part of that and I love it. It's something I look forward to.
Yeah, I'm so glad.
Interesting. So interesting.
It's so interesting. Yeah.
Well, Jocelyn, thank you so much for your time. I'm very grateful and learned a lot from you today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this beautiful event that you're creating, and can't wait to see more of the other interviews. It sounds really, really beautiful and fascinating.
Thanks, Jocelyn. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a beautiful day.